Hello, everyone. You are very welcome to tonight's Beginners Coding Workshop. We're very excited to have you all on. So what we're going to do, just to start things off, is if you would like to tweet us as we go through this, you can tweet at @TLP_tweets. And the first thing I want to do, the most important thing to do actually, is just to make sure that everyone can hear us. So this is a quick sound check. If you can hear me clear, could you just go ahead and type yes into the chat box? And it'd be great to know that we're broadcasting, we're firing on all cylinders, and all is good. Okay, so I'm seeing lots of yeses. Okay, lots and lots of yeses. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. So if you would like to access your workshop notes at any point, I'm actually going to put this link into the chat, but it's bit.ly/2mem. And actually, if you give me 2 seconds here, I'm just going to go ahead and put this into the chat as a sticky. So if at any point you do need to access the links, it should just appear there, that link there. And it's clickable, so it means you don't have to type it, which is nice. So as way of introduction, I am there on the left-hand side. My name is Owen O'Neill. I'm an education advisor here at Code Institute. To the right, I suppose in the center of the screen, to my right and to your center, there's Yoni Levy. He is the head of mentoring here at Code Institute, and he will be the person who will be running you through the workshop.
Hey, everyone.
And then all the way on the right, we have Ben Allwright, who is a senior learning consultant with the Learning People. And he'll be talking to you a little bit about if you're interested in maybe pursuing more education in coding at the end of this. Do you want to say hi, Ben?
Hi, everyone.
Okay, great. So listen, what we're going to cover today is we are going to create your very first website in under an hour. So we're pretty excited to actually take you through this. Now, hopefully you have already downloaded the Sublime Text 3 software, so you'll be able to get cracking. If not, I'm also going to put a link to that. You should be able to install it pretty quickly, just in case you weren't able to install it before this. And I'll put that link in the chat box in a moment. Now, the reason we're here today is this thing called the global skills shortage. So when people ask us about why coding, and sometimes it's, why am I hearing so much about coding? Why is there a year of code? Why is coding being part, they're trying to put coding as part of the primary school curriculum? Well, it's this global skills shortage. And this is actually just a European graph. So just by way of context, this red line here is the number of computer science students that are coming out of every university in Europe over the next couple of years. This gray line here is the number of computing jobs available. So as you can see, there's way more jobs than there are students who are qualified to step into those computing jobs. So there's actually going to be 750,000 more jobs than students by 2020. And that's what we call the global skills shortage. And it leads to this. It's 4 billion connected people, either to their phones or their laptops. For companies, it's a 4 trillion revenue opportunity. They're going to need 25 million apps. There's going to be all kinds of embedded and intelligent systems needed. And there's going to be 50 trillion gigabytes of data to sort through to understand. So you can see that by 2020, there's going to be a huge amount of jobs and not enough people to do them. So the reason we're here today is the Learning People offer Code Institute courses that help you advance or change your career. Now, the question we always get asked is this one, and it's a really good one, actually. It's, how do I know if coding is for me? And that's why we wanted to do this workshop. We wanted to show you what's involved in building a simple website. We can't give you a taste of everything there is about coding, but we can give you a pretty good sense of maybe what the process is like, what the logic looks like, and give you an understanding of what it's like to actually build something and put it together. And also, we want to answer any questions you might have as we go through. So our goal on this workshop is to make sure that the hour you spend with us is really, really useful, very valuable, that you walk away and you have an understanding of what HTML is and how it works, what CSS is and how it works, what JavaScript is and how it works as well. So what we want to do, we want to make sure that that hour is really useful. And for those who are interested, we can actually talk a little bit more if you want to continue your coding education at the end. So what we'll do is we'll ask if it's okay to tell you about some courses that we offer to continue your coding education. And if you think we've done a good job, if you think that you've spent the hour and it's been really worthwhile, then we'll go ahead and tell you about that, if that's okay with you. And if not, then I guess we won't. So no pressure, Yoni, no pressure.
Cool.
One final thing to say on distractions. It is very easy to get left behind in this workshop. Me and Yoni have run this, I'd say 6 to 7 times. and it's very, very easy to get left behind. Some people are saying that there's no video. If you just refresh your browser, it should take care of any audio or video difficulties. So with distractions, it's easy to get left behind. So log out of Gmail, turn off Facebook, turn your phone on silent, close the door, and get ready for the next 60 minutes where we'll just be going through some coding. Now, if you stick around for the end, we will be telling you about a competition that we'll be running and how to actually get involved in that. So do stick around at the end. The workshop labs, again, I've put the link in the chat. So they're just at the top, and it's bit.ly/2memY5T. So without further ado, we're going to get kicking straight into this workshop. So I'm going to hand you over to Yoni. Just as a heads up, Yoni used to work at Google before moving to Code Institute. He's been a professional developer for 7 years, and you're in very good hands. So himself and myself will be taking you through this workshop. So Yoni, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Owen. Before we get started, I want to discuss a bit the concept of code. And I'd like to ask all of you if you've ever heard of Arthur C. Clarke's third law. Let's see if we can get an answer for this.
So say it again, Clarke's third law.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anyone has heard of Clarke's third law, go ahead and type yes into the chat box. I'm seeing no's. I'm seeing lots of no's, Yoni.
So I'm wondering if we can get anyone to paste in or write from memory what the law is.
I think we just
interesting.
need people who've heard of it full stop. Wow. Okay.
Cool. Okay. So interesting. I would have expected to be more of an intersection between.
Well, let's
people
educate. Let's
Okay. Someone mentioned robotics. Okay, that's getting closer. Cool. Okay. So I'll say what the law is. So Arthur C. Clarke was a science fiction writer, a very known one, and he's had these few laws about how technology progresses. And the third law, here we have the answer from Andrew. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Okay, think about that for a second. When computing just got started in the late 40s, so everyone working with computers was an electrical engineer or a mathematician. They had to actually connect circuits and do all of that hard physical work. And then we've had quite a few decades of very rapid progression in the field. The technology here is so advanced now with the web and all of the mobile platforms that it's not about the computers anymore. It's about the abstract concept of software. And software has really become almost magic. So let's mention code. Code is what makes software. Code is a way for you as a human to give instructions to computers and have them obey your whims.
And a really simple example of that actually would be just websites you use every day. When you send an email, you're actually sending instructions to the software to go deliver this to another address.
Yeah.
When you post a status update on Facebook, you're telling Facebook, put this online and share it with all my friends, which I have selected through your social network.
Yeah, but when you're doing that, when you're using someone else's program, then you're not writing the code yourself. You're limited to whatever the creators of that software of whatever you're using have given you the option of doing. But as a coder, you're giving the instructions to the computer directly, and you can do whatever you want. You're not limited by anything. And that's a sense of power that really comparable to magic. And I really like thinking of that as a metaphor. It's almost like Harry Potter. So you need to know some words. You need to be able to pronounce some spells, some incantations. And if you do that correctly, the computer will do everything you want to. But if you don't say those things correctly, if you don't write them down correctly, then the computer will not understand what you're saying. And it might either not do anything at all, or it might just think that you mean something else and do something else entirely. So it's up to you to be able to learn those spells. And I'm going to introduce a few spells, which I hope you'll find useful. And I really hope you'll find this an interesting thing to spend your life doing.
I feel like as a disclaimer, we should say we're not going to teach you any actual magic from Harry Potter, but we will go through some pretty cool coding stuff, which could, you could say
it's almost indistinguishable.
It's
it's
almost as good. Yoni was actually contacted when he turned 11 to go to coding school. Hagrid picked him up.
We're not quite there yet, but virtual reality is just around the corner. And very soon, I think, in a few years, you'll be able to code your way into creating dragons for everyone to see.
All right, let's crack on.
Okay, so let's get started. This workshop is going to focus on front-end development. So the front end is the part of website or an application that is directly in front of your user. Many big systems have several components. They would have a front end and a back end. And we don't care about any of that. We only care about the front part, which is everything that the users of the application can directly see, hear, touch, and interact with in any way. And there are different platforms where you can deploy your software on, your code, and we'll be focusing on the web, which is probably the most popular platform, the most quickly developing platform in the past few decades. So if you want to use the web to deploy your code to the hundreds of millions of users out there, or billions now actually, then you would need to know to code in these three specific languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I'll be introducing them in this workshop. Let's just get a brief overview of them. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. That's the coding language we use to create the actual content of our application, of our website. This includes all of the text, it includes the images, includes videos, audio, any other parts of the content. The second one, CSS, is short for Cascading Style Sheets, and that's the language we use to style our HTML. So HTML in itself is very bare, so it's just the content, while CSS tells us how to align the content, how to lay it out, how to color it, what fonts to use, etc. So that gives it all of the kind of vibrant life that you see on the web. And the last one, JavaScript, is the language that's used to add interactivity to a website. So HTML and CSS create the initial version of the website, and then you can use JavaScript to tell the website to change based on user actions. So whenever a user moves their mouse or clicks something with their finger on a mobile device or types something in, so we can change the website accordingly. And I'll show you examples of how to do all of that. And we'll get started with HTML. So HTML as a language it's nice. Sorry, I'm not sure what I wanted to say there. It's a really nice language. It's made up.
It sounds like you don't like it though, Matt.
No, it's
HTML. It's nice.
I had something on the tip of my tongue. It just went away. Sorry. So as I mentioned, HTML is used to structure the content. And the way it does this is through what's known as markup. So markup is a way of putting special symbols around the content itself to say what kind of content it is. And the way HTML does it is through those things known as elements. So everything in HTML is an element, and they all look pretty much like this. So each of them has a start tag, an end tag, and the contents. Okay, so in this case, this element has a start tag of type P, so every element has a type. And surrounding the type are two angle brackets. And when you see angle brackets, it's usually HTML, so that's a good way of knowing that. And at the end, there is another tag, which is almost the same as the start tag, but has the slash in front and has to be the same type. So in this case, P on both sides. And in between the tags, there's the actual content. In this case, it's just the text, a paragraph. So rather than keep talking about it, let's see an actual live example. Okay, so we've asked you to install Sublime. Okay, it's this tool. This is a text editor that's really, really nice.
I'm just going to put the link again in the chat, just in case anyone didn't get a chance to install it. It's pretty small as a program, so you should be able to get it installed in time.
Cool. So what I'll do is that I'll drag it to the left part of my screen. I'll be organizing the window this way. And you probably choose whatever layout works well for you. But if there's an option for you to put this on the left, this will be nice. And the first thing I'll do is create a new file. So I'll do File, New. And I'll save it. Here, I'll choose the Save option. And I'll go to my desktop, but it can be any location you want. And I'll name this file hello.html. And this is the really important part. So it has to end in .html, which is what will tell Sublime and later the browser that this file will contain HTML code.
And just as a note, sometimes Sublime will pop up and say, hey, we need you to register this software. You can ignore that. It's because we're just using it kind of for the first time. It's really a way to try out the software. So you can just ignore any pop-ups that ask you to buy it. You don't have to buy it.
It will keep working forever. But if you really like it, then you should register and pay a bit of money.
Yeah, if you want to. But you don't have to.
You really don't have to. And I haven't yet on this computer. Okay, so I've saved this file. I told the computer that it's going to be HTML. And let's get started. So let's recreate what we had on the slide. So I'll type in angle bracket, P, close the angle bracket, write the content, in this case, a paragraph. Okay, I'll close this, and Sublime does some magic. So when I click the slash, it will automatically complete this for me. And I'll save it. So whenever I finish typing something, I'll always save the file. You can use either file save or my favorite shortcut, Control-S to save. And then the next thing is to see what we've created. So I'll right-click this file and just any place inside the document in Sublime and choose Open in Browser. Okay, so this will load a browser window. I'll just drag it to the side. And what I'll do, and I recommend that you do this too, is move this to be on the right part of your screen and set it up so you can see both at the same time. Okay, so I'm watching the code on the left and the result of it in the browser on the right. So what just happened? So I wrote down this bit of code. It's a single element of type P, the content a paragraph, and I told the browser, which is our way of distributing and using HTML code, I told the browser to load that file. And when I did open the browser, that's essentially what it did. So we can see here the address bar that it opened that file. And it shows me the content. So by using the P type of element, I'm saying, please display this as a paragraph. And actually, rather than saying a paragraph, I want to say something more interesting. So I'm going to say, hello world. Okay, I've saved it. Okay, so again, you can either save or use Control-S. Oh, and this is the window that may pop up. So just saying, thank you for trying out Sublime Text. Would you like to purchase the license now or later? So we're going to go with later, and it keeps working as many times as we want. Okay, so I've saved the document, and the next part is going to the browser and refreshing. So you have this button, or you can use the Control-R shortcut or F5, whatever's convenient. So this will be our way of working all of the time. So throughout the workshop, we'll be changing this file, saving, going to the browser and refreshing to see our changes.
And this goes back to what we were talking about at the start of the workshop, where we're giving the instructions now. So on the left-hand side in Sublime, we're saying, we're creating a page that we're telling it to display hello world in a particular way. And it's then going on and showing that in the browser. So that's the whole point of what we're doing. One other quick thing I want to mention is we have this rule in Coded Suite. It's called the 30% rule. So if at any time during one of our lessons, if you're understanding 30% of what's going on, you're actually doing really, really well. So don't feel you have to understand 100% of everything we go through tonight. And if you feel like you're falling behind, don't worry about it. That's okay. That's actually natural to a point. Just keep following along, understand as much as you can, and just interact as best you can. And yeah, just keep that in mind.
The best way of understanding these sort of topics, coding in particular, technical topics in general, is through experience. So that's what I recommend. Just do those things, get the experience of feeling how it works, and the understanding will come by itself. So we've said hello world. This is a very ancient phrase from the early days of computing. And the idea is that whenever you begin working with a new language, you have to get it to display on the screen the phrase hello world. And that signifies that you've officially become a coder of that language. So congratulate yourselves. You've now become HTML coders. Okay, so let's add a bit more. So let's add the phrase, we're doing a Code Institute webinar. Okay, so I've added a bit more content. Save, refresh. I see this content appear in the same line. What will happen if I move this to a separate line? Okay, so sometimes we like to style out our HTML code such that the opening tag is on its own line and the content is on its own line, or maybe several lines, and the closing tag is again on its own line. And what we do is that we indent the content to be at the right of the opening and start tags so that it's clear to see that it's kind of inside of it. And you can do that with the tab key on your keyboard. So you can select one or more lines, you can click tab, and if you want to go back, you can do shift tab and we'll take it back. So usually we just do tab once. And this is just a way of making the code look neater. Okay, so what happens? So if I save and refresh, I'll see that nothing happens. So the browser doesn't care about whether I'm using new lines or not. Because I've told it that this is going to be a single paragraph, it keeps putting all of the content here in a single paragraph. So if I want to make this 2 paragraphs instead, I'll need to cut this away, create a new paragraph, paste it back in, close the end tag, of course, save, refresh, and now I see that by telling the browser using this code that we have 2 paragraphs, it has to show them up as 2 paragraphs. Okay, so that's the basic part. This is the basics of creating HTML elements. So let's now get a bit deeper, and we'll see that actually the interesting part about HTML is that elements can contain other elements as well. Or in other words, we can nest elements inside one another. The way this looks is just that as part of the regular content that an element has, some of that content can be one or more additional elements, which we then call child elements. So the external one is the parent element, and the inner one is the child of that parent. And a good way of thinking about this is via those diagrams like the one we have here on the right. So this is maybe similar to a genealogy, a family tree diagram. Okay, so at the top we have the parent. In this case, it's a P element, and it has 2 children. So the first child is just the text a paragraph, and the second child is an element of type EM, which itself has a child which is just a text with emphasis in this case. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Okay, so let's say
a few people are asking about how to get the window split like we have it here. If you're, I mean, basically it's a drag and drop. That's just because we're on Windows.
Yeah, so Windows and Linux usually just let you drag and drop the window everywhere you want.
Yeah.
But you can also just move it manually.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Like if you have Sublime full screen and then save it and then refresh it in Chrome, that's fine too. It's just for the ease of everyone watching and kind of show you what happens in the text editor and what happens in the browser. That's all we're trying to display. So if you're kind of frustrated that you can't get it exactly set up like this, I wouldn't worry about it. Just follow along as best you can. It doesn't have to look exactly like this.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's take a look at this part of the content, the word world. So let's say I want to make an element out of this. So I'll surround it with EM tags, and I'll say what EM is in a second, or maybe you can guess it yourself. Okay, so I've made the part of the content world an element of type EM. Save it, refresh, and see what happens here. So the word world became italicized. So that's what the special EM tag does. EM stands for emphasis, and by default, it will italicize any important part of the content. Okay, and note that because it's inside of the paragraph, it's a part of the paragraph. So it's a way of combining the effects of multiple element types. Okay. So this is the overall idea of HTML, creating those elements for our content and putting them inside one another and creating the overall thing. But I've cheated a bit in the sense that this in itself is not a full valid HTML page. So to create a valid page, we need to do a bit more. We need to have special element types, which are HTML, which has to come at the outside of the whole thing. And inside of HTML, we need to have a head element and a body element. And we can also see that on the diagram to the right. Okay, so HTML should be the parent of all elements, and it should have those 2 children. The body element is the one where we put our actual content. So this is where our paragraphs and emphasis elements will go. And the other child, the head, is used for special kind of tags which don't form part of the content, but are used to describe the content in some way. This is sometimes known as metadata. So it's data that describes the rest of the data. Okay, and one main element that we put in the head is the title, which gives the document a name, the web page name. So let's see how we can do that. So because Sublime is so nice, it gives us a feature of doing all of it automatically. What I'll do is that I'll select all of the content we have so far, and I'll cut it with Control X. I really like keyboard shortcuts. And I'll start typing HTML. And you see that Sublime recognized what I'm doing, so it knows that this is an HTML element. And if I click this, it will generate all of this for me. And now I can go back into the body. I'll paste what I have back in, and I'll even indent it a bit to make it look nicer. Okay, and now it's clear that I have the full HTML thing, full document. I have the head part, and I have the body, and the body contains everything we've had so far. So if I save and refresh, I'll see almost no difference. The only thing is that it's now centered more nicely, so it's giving me a bit more white space at the top. But the big difference here is now this document is valid. And the reason I'm focusing on validity is that HTML, as other computer languages, is very magical. And browsers will do their best to try to understand what you're trying to create, what dragons and levitation devices you're trying to create in the world with your spells. Let me know if you're getting tired of this analogy, but I really like it. So anyway, if you're doing something that's not valid, the browser might second guess you, and it might think you're doing something else and create something entirely different for what you were going for, right? The computer will do what you asked it to do, not necessarily what you intended to do. So to make sure that we're getting everything right, then we want to make sure that our document is valid, that it has all of the necessary components. And then we can be absolutely sure that every browser will do exactly what we want rather than guessing. And different kinds of browsers might guess differently if we're not doing valid code. Okay, so we've added the structure, and we'll go back to the title. And let's add a nice title. Do you want to ask the audience?
We usually have something happen at this point where the title is suggested, but I don't think anything's ever.
No, we've had a few nice ones.
We've had a few good ones. Geez, I don't know. I suppose we can ask. I tell you what, the next thing typed in the chat box that I see
will become the title.
The title.
Yeah.
I suppose Joe just came in with "How do I get browser up?" So I guess that's our title.
Okay.
Somewhat of an ironic title, because you wouldn't actually be able to see it unless you had your browser.
Can I change? Actually, I like Mortaza's "Coding is magic." Can I use that?
Coding is magic. Sounds
Coding
good.
is magic. Okay. I'll save and refresh, and nothing will happen to the content. But the title here at the top of the tab bar, or if you have a single window, so it will show up as the title. Okay, so that's the way to control this. And if you're doing something else with the page, such as printing it, then it will also use what we have here as the title. Okay, so now we have some valid HTML, and we're ready to learn a bit more about different element types. Okay, so going back to the slides, there are many different HTML elements, and I'll just go through over some of the common ones. And we've already seen the P element, which is used to define a paragraph. At this point, I want to mention that there's actually two very different types of elements. So there's block elements, which take up a whole block of the web page. They take the entire width and are used as full sections. And there are inline elements. So a paragraph is a block element, okay? So it takes up the whole size. And that's just one of different block elements. Another kind of block element are the heading elements. These are the elements H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6, where the H is short for heading. And they're used to create something that looks a bit like a paragraph, but is styled in a bigger and nicer way. So let's add a heading here. Okay, I'll add, let's start with an H3 tag. let's give it the content front end coding webinar. Okay, I'll close tag. I'll move it this way to just be nice and neat. Save, refresh, and we see that we now have this really nice heading. Okay, and unlike the title, this is actually part of the content because it's inside the body. We've chosen H3. Sorry. Let's see what happens if we change it to H2. Okay, save and refresh, and we see it becomes bigger. So the number here is how significant this should be. So H1 is the main heading that you would use for the entire page. And the other numbers are used for different kinds of subheadings for different parts of your document. Okay. Originally, HTML came from the world of regular paper-based documents and newspapers. So a lot of the words we use here come from the world of newspapers. Essentially, if we have headings and paragraphs, and we have articles and sections, and that's just a historical accident. So that's it. Okay, so that's one kind of element. And another kind of element we've seen before is the EM, which is used to emphasize or stress parts of text. And by default, it becomes italicized. And another inline element, just like EM, is strong, which is used in similar but slightly different contexts to also give text importance. And what it does by default is that it makes text bold. So let's see, for example, what happens if I change this EM tag to be a strong. And of course, I need to change the end tag as well. Okay, so change this strong and take a look here. Okay, sorry, save, refresh. And instead of being italicized, it becomes bold. Okay, and of course, we can combine the effects of different tag types. So we can actually put an EM tag inside the strong or the other way around and combine the effects of both. Okay, but whenever we have an element inside the other, it always uses all of that to create and style our content. Okay, so these are a few of the basic common ones. I want to tell you about another feature of HTML, and then I'll show you even more advanced tag types, element types. So actually, before I said that start tags and end tags are almost the same, apart from the slash, but actually start tags can have some more information. Start tags, in addition to the element type, can also have what's known as attributes. So attributes are a way of adding additional kinds of functionality to an element. And there are some attributes which are completely optional, which just add something on top of the element, while other attributes are completely required for that kind of element. Okay, and we'll see one in a second, but just before that, I want to explain the syntax here. So the way to create an attribute is that you put it in the start tag following a space after the element type. Then you write the type of the attribute, in this case, class. Then you write the equal symbol, and then inside double quotes, you give the value of the attribute. So in this case, we're saying the class is equal to special. So the attribute type class is special. Okay, so let's see when it's used. This next HTML element type is actually the most important element in HTML, and this is actually what gave HTML its name. So this is the A element, which is short for anchor, and you better know it as a link. Okay, this is a way for us to link between different documents on the web, either between different parts of our own application or to applications owned by others anywhere on the web. And we said link, so link is short for hyperlink. Hyper in the sense of connecting to something completely different. And that's what created the HTML. So HTML, hypertext markup language. Okay, so it's a language built using markup, using elements, which allows us to do hypertext. So it's text that is active and hyper takes us. It transports us to other locations.
Yeah, it's a good sort of analogy, because when they talk about hypertext, what you have to remember, the context around this was actually created because
when it was originally put together, it was a really revolutionary idea that I could write something and link to a file that lived somewhere completely else. We're so used to it now, but at the time it was magical, because if you were based in California, you could link to a document in London and actually transport it instantly. No need for letters, no need for telegrams. It would just be straight away on someone's screen. And that's why it's hypertext.
Yeah, and the magic here is that no one needs to know where the other document actually is. You don't need to know where geographically it's located. You just need to know the address that points to that other document, to that other resource, and magically it will appear on your user's computer. So all documents on the web platform have a address. It's called a URL, a Uniform Resource Locator. It always starts with the letters HTTP. And I'm not going to say anything more about it because it's out of the scope, but you're obviously quite familiar with those from your experience on the web. And this is how we create them, okay? So the way for us to create links is that we create an A element. In our case, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take this piece of content, Code Institute. Okay, this is the name of our company, okay? And I'm going to wrap this in an A element. Okay, in itself, when I refresh, it does absolutely nothing. Because to make an A element work, we have to have this special attribute called href, short for hypertext reference. And as the value, I'll give the address of Code Institute's website. So that's http://codeinstitute.net. Okay, and now when I save and refresh, we'll see that it's got the familiar underline and it's a different color. And when I move the mouse over it, becomes a hand cursor. And when I click it, the magic happens and I get to Code Institute's website. Okay, so I'll go back now in the browser because actually I don't want my users to be able to click the link and go away from my site, right? I would like to keep users in my site for longer. And for that, I have another really nice attribute I can use. So we can use the target attribute and give it the special value _blank. Okay, again, I'll save and refresh. And what this does is that it says that this link should not open in the same tab, but rather in a new blank tab. Okay, so it creates a new tab and opens it there, while the user still can see my website. Okay, so this is about anchor tags. That's the main way we use hypertextuality in our websites. And another thing we can do also with the magic of hypertext is images. So the web, of course, is not just about text. It's got all different kinds of media. And the most common other type of media is images. To create images in our website, we'll need to use the special IMG tag. It's special in one main sense, is that it doesn't actually have a content. So to create an image tag, we just need a start tag. And the content will be provided by putting an address in this src attribute. Okay, so src, short for source, is the way for us to tell the browser where to load the image from. And again, that can be either something that we've created ourselves as part of our own website, or it can be a resource anywhere else on the web, which is, again, quite magical. So that's the main attribute we need to use. And there's also another attribute we like to use, which is alt, short for alternative. And that's a way for us to describe the image to people who cannot see it, and mainly for visually impaired users. So that's a way for you to be nice and make your site accessible. Cool. Okay, so let's add an image. Okay, so after our last paragraph, let's create a new image tag. Okay. And as I mentioned, the main part is to have a source attribute, src, and we can use any address to an image here. In this case, I'd like to use Code Institute logo. So I already have Code Institute's website open, and we have this nice logo. So I'll just right-click it. You can right-click any element on any website you are. And in the case of an image, you can do copy image address, and it will give you the full address of that resource, okay, of that image in this case. I pasted this in here, and I'll also add the alt attribute to say that this is the code institute logo. Okay, so this is just to make it accessible. Close the start tag, and that's it. So in the case of an image element, there's no content, there's no end tag. It's just the start tag is the content. Okay, I'll refresh, and I'll see the nice logo appear. Okay, so that's how we add an image. And it's a bit maybe weird to just have it here. So let's combine this with our link, right? So we already have the text code institute here, and the logo also has this text. So let's combine the two. We can't put anything inside the image, right? We can't add a link inside the image, but we can put the image inside of the link, okay, removing the text which we have here, and putting the image inside. And now I'll refresh, and I'll see that the image is just in the middle of this paragraph, and it's clickable. So the image has become the link. Okay, so this is really nice. We have, let's just take a look at the hierarchy here. So we have an image element inside an A element, inside the link, inside a paragraph, inside the body of our document, inside the HTML. Oh, and I didn't mention this first line. So this is just a special line that's not actually part of the HTML. It's just a way to signify to browsers that this is an HTML document. And older versions of HTML had slightly different first lines, and this is just the modern one used in HTML5. Okay, so we've done this. Let's see what else I can talk about. Okay, we wanna, you know what? We're running a bit short of time, so I'll skip this. I was gonna show you how to create lists in HTML, but I actually wanna skip ahead to something maybe more interesting. And if we have time at the end, I'll mention this again. So this is just a way to style different parts of our content to appear as a list. Instead, I wanna skip ahead to CSS. Okay, so CSS is the second language used on the web. As I mentioned, HTML controls the content, while CSS is used to control the styling of it all. Okay, unlike HTML, which is built out of elements, CSS is a completely different language, which is built around the concept of rules. Okay, so all of the rules look pretty much like this. Okay, they're split into two main parts. They have the selector. Okay, the selector is the part of a CSS rule that says what part of our content styling should be applied to. So in this case, we're saying that this styling rule should be applied to all P elements, to all paragraphs. And the second part is one or more declarations inside curly braces. Okay, and often we will put the declarations on new lines. Declarations themselves are split into two parts. They have a property and a value separated by a colon symbol. And at the end, you have to have a semicolon symbol. Okay, so each declaration is saying that one aspect of our content, in this case, the color, should have a specific value, in this case, teal, okay? So this rule says that all emphasized parts of the content should have the teal color. This example was that all paragraphs should have the font size 1.4 EM. EM here is different from the EM we've seen before, so this is not about emphasis. This is just about element size, where 1 is the original size and 1.4 means 40% larger than the default. And the example on the left is that all paragraphs should have the blue color. Okay, so let's try this out. Going back to our document, this is an HTML file. CSS, as I mentioned, is a different language, and we can either put it in a separate file, or if we want to, we can put it inside of the head of the HTML. Okay, so the head is the place to put stuff that's describing how the document should be treated and isn't part of the document itself. To add our CSS here, we'll add a style tag. Okay, we'll open it and we'll close it. And everything between those two tags, so the content of the style element is actually CSS language, so it's a completely different language. Okay, and let's do something. Let's make our web page a bit nicer. By the end of this workshop, the HTML page will still not look nice, so we don't have time to really style it to look great and ready for the myriads of people who would like to see your website. But I'm going to be showing you the tools you have at your disposal to create something that will look nice eventually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when it comes to CSS, there's so much to it to actually make something that looks as good as Facebook or Twitter or
Yeah.
anything. It actually takes a huge amount of time, and there's even specialist libraries to help you do that. For us, we just want to show you the tools and kind of the tags that you can actually use to get started, and sort of let you run with the ball from there.
Exactly. Okay. So as I mentioned, the first part of a CSS rule is the selector. So let's start with the body as a selector. Okay. So by saying the body, we want to apply to this body element. Okay. Essentially to the entirety of our document. Okay. So after the selector, we have curly braces and we have to close them. So I'm going to just go ahead and close them. And in between those curly braces, we have our declarations. And let's start with changing the font. So I'll use the property font family. And I'll give the value Arial, and then of course a semicolon at the end. So by default, web pages always use the Times New Roman font, which is a bit boring. So Arial is one of your alternatives. Save, refresh, and we see that it's now changed to Arial. There are, if I recall correctly, 6 built-in fonts that you can use in any browser by default. And there are also many hundreds of other fonts that you can use if you include them. So if you create a font or you have someone who created a font for you, then you can use those as well. And Google in particular offers many dozens of different fonts for free. For now, but we'll just use the built-in font. So that's one thing we can change about our page's body. Another thing we can do is change the width. So for now, we see that all of our content is touching the left part of the screen. And that's not very common. It's not very convenient for the users. So instead, I'd like to limit the width to 80%. And I'll add automatic margins on both sides. So it will center our content in the middle, okay? So now it's only taking up 80% of the width, even if it was more content. So for example, I'll just make this paragraph a bit longer. So in this webinar, we'll be talking about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, save and refresh. So I see that now that this is long, it's cut off here such that the whole thing only takes up 80%. Okay, so I've added some styling to the body. This is the basics of CSS. And it gets a bit more interesting once you realize that there's inheritance involved. Okay, so we've styled our body element, but we've seen that it affects the entirety of the document, okay? The font of the entire thing changed because all the children inside of an element and all their children and or all the children's children, all of the descendants essentially, they inherit the styling rules applied to the parents, okay, by default. But you can override that styling at any level. So any of the children can say, no, this should be different, okay? I want to be different. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so here we've applied the font family to be Arial on all of the elements, but let's say that we want maybe the EM element to be different. So if I add another rule here, make the selector EM, and I'll add another font family declaration and make it Tahoma. Okay, so that's another built-in font. And if we look at the word now here, so it's a bit different. So now it's become styled as Tahoma. And that's a way for me to override styling on a particular element. Okay, so every element can override the styles it inherits. Okay, we can do any sort of magic using this thing, except that by using these kinds of selectors, we're limited to only applying styles based on element types. Sometimes we want to apply styling to just a specific element or just a group of elements. So to do that, we'll see another feature of CSS called IDs. IDs are a way for us to target a specific single element and style only that. Okay, the way we use this is that we have to give that element an ID attribute, and in that attribute we give the element any name we want, and then in our CSS rather than typing the type of the element, we'll use the hash symbol and then the ID we gave it to target that specifically. Okay, so let's see an example. We have this first element here, which is an H1. So let's say we wanted to target, even before that. So let's think about this. Okay, so we have this paragraph. Okay, we have 2 paragraphs, but let's say I want to style only this one. So I'll give this an ID. Okay, we'll make it greeting, and we can choose anything we want. And I'll add a rule to just target that. So I'll use, again, the hash symbol, the name of the ID, and in the curly braces, let's change the color of just that paragraph to be blue. Okay, I'll save and refresh, and see that it's now styled blue nicely. Okay, we can do that for any other kind of element. So let's say we want to style this H1 element, but not any other H1 elements which we might have later. So I'll give this an ID as well. Let's call it the main heading. Okay, and let's add a rule to target that. And one thing I can do here is that I'll add an underline there. So I'll use the text decoration property and set the value to be underline. And what will happen is that I'm going to have this really nice underline here to make it even clearer that this is the main heading of our page. There are tons of different properties we can change, and many of them have many, many values. I won't be going into all of these, and this is not something I could do in a single session. But I just want to show how you can change pretty much any aspect of the code. Okay, let's do one more thing with IDs. We have this logo here, right? We have this image, and it's really big. So what we can do is to change its size, right? So one of the ways we can do that, and there are several, is to add an ID here. We'll call this the logo, and I'll add a rule targeting that specific ID, and I'll change the width to be 45 px. Px is short for pixel or picture element. And I'll change the height to be 20 pixels. So this is just something I calculated in advance. Okay, so I'm saving this, refreshing. And now we see that by making it smaller, giving those specific dimensions, it fits quite neatly inside of the paragraph. Okay, so this is a way to make our different elements fit in better one within the other. Okay, so that was IDs. IDs allow us to target a specific element. Another thing we can do is use classes. So that's similar to an IDs, but it allows us to apply styling to more than one element, and they can be of completely different types. So unlike using selectors based on types of elements, so here we can just apply the same kind of styling to different elements, regardless of their types. To do that, we'll have a class attribute as part of those elements, and we'll use the same class in all of them. And then in our CSS, we'll use the dot symbol and then the name of the class to apply that to all of them. So one of the things we can do is that we can say maybe that we have another paragraph here just for the fun of it. Okay, so I'll have a colon here, and I'll put this part here. Okay. And now we have those 2 paragraphs, and I want to target just those 2 and not the other one. So I'll add a class to both. I'll add the class topics, okay, because this describes the topics that the workshop focuses on. Okay, so the same class to both. And I'll add a rule to target that class, and I have to use the dot symbol here. So dot topics, and inside curly braces, I'll put color green. So 2 things to note here. First of all, that this works. But concerning the color, I just want to mention that you have to use the American spelling because for some reasons, historical reasons, the internet originated in America. And the other one is that we have tons of different colors we can choose from. We have around 300 built-in color names. So most names of colors you can think of are already available to you. And if for some reason you can think of a color that doesn't already exist, then you can specify it specifically using the red, green, and blue values, and then you have access to over 16 million different colors. Okay, so that's it about styling for now. There's, as I mentioned, tons more different properties and values we can use in our styling. We can do whatever we want. And I'll go ahead for now to the last language of today, the third language used on the web, which is JavaScript. As I mentioned, JavaScript is used to add interactivity to our websites. JavaScript is different from HTML and CSS in that it gives us much more power. So unlike HTML and CSS, which only have one kind of thing in the language, so HTML only has elements and CSS only has rules, JavaScript actually has a very complicated syntax, and it can be used to create anything you can imagine. Any kind of interactivity you would like your website to do, you can use JavaScript to do that. And because it's so complicated, I'll only be showing you a single example of how to use JavaScript. And I just want you to see what it looks like and how you can use it to change your website based on events that happen. Okay, so the way JavaScript works is that different events can occur once your website is loaded. Events can include moving the mouse. It can be hovering over an element. It can be clicking the element. It can be changing the size of the window. It can be typing in some text into a text box, pretty much anything. And in JavaScript, you can target those events and say that once an event occurs, we want to do something to change the page or to send any information elsewhere. So one very common way of using JavaScript is to send the information from our website to a server. So for instance, when you're filling out a form on the website, that's what the JavaScript does. So it would be used to take your inputs and store them somewhere and give you a response based on that. We'll be using a more simple example. So I want to go into this paragraph element, and I want to use JavaScript to add a bit of interactivity here. So what I'll be doing is that I'll be putting JavaScript directly inside of our HTML. In other cases, especially when you have lots of JavaScript, you will be using a separate file. But for this example, this should suit us nicely. And as I mentioned, we have to say what event we want to handle. So here I want to handle the onClick. Okay, so what should happen once someone clicks that element? Okay, this paragraph. And here inside of the value of this onClick attribute, what I'm writing needs to be JavaScript code. Okay, so I'm going to show a simple example. I'll be using the special word this in JavaScript, which is a way to refer to the entire element. Okay, and then I'm saying this.inner HTML. So the HTML of this element. What about it? So I want to append something to it. So I want to add something at the end of this. Okay, so I'll use the plus equal symbol to append. And then inside single quotes, I'll write the content that I want to add inside of it. And what I want to do is use space and JavaScript. Okay, and just like with CSS, at the end of JavaScript statements, we need to have a semicolon. Okay, and to make this nice, I'll remove the dot here, and let's see what happens. So I refresh the page, nothing happened. Okay, so the page still looks exactly the way it looked before. But if I now click this, then it appends the text and JavaScript to the end of it, okay? Because that's what we told JavaScript to do. So when you're clicked, take the inner HTML of this element and add this piece of content. Okay, and that's why I put the space at the beginning. So I want to have a space after the previous text. And I can do this many times, right? Every time I click this, every time the event occurs, it does this, okay? And I have tons and tons of JavaScript here. So this is just a basic example of how you can use JavaScript. And note that if I then refresh the page, it all goes away. So it goes back to the initial version of the page before the event ever occurred. Okay, So I hope this was fun. I want to show a bit more. Just another thing we can do with hypertext before we finish. So this was an example of JavaScript. I want to go back to HTML for a second. There's a film I like called Starship Troopers. It's an old one. And it had this phrase, "Would you like to know more?" Okay. So I'll go to that clip on YouTube.
Every day.
Okay, so this is with Neil Patrick Harris explaining about aliens. Okay, you know YouTube. You know that you can use it to watch videos. And one of the nice things about it is that you can use those YouTubes inside of your own web pages, right? So you can click the share button and you can take the link here, but that's not what we're looking for. We instead will go to the embed section and we'll copy this. This is an HTML element of type iframe. So iframe is short for inline frame. Okay, let's paste it in our document. And we'll see that what this does is that it has a width and a height and a source. This is a bit similar to an image. Okay, going back to our website and refreshing, what this does is that it embeds that other website, that YouTube page, directly inside our document. Okay, and that's it for me for today. So if you'd like to know more, then I'll switch back to Owen, who will be telling you more about how to learn this stuff.
Things.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
So
let
me go back
to the slides.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Yanni. So we're back to me. So what we learned today is we learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Just out of curiosity, I'd love to see what was actually people's favorite language in terms of their actual functionality and what they actually did. So just put a poll up there. God, poor CSS. No one is saying they like CSS at all. Maybe about 16%. Big fans of JavaScript.
Nice. Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah, JavaScript is one of the most powerful ones, actually.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So I can understand why that's one of the front runners. Okay, that's great. I think we can safely say JavaScript was the winner there. So in terms of what you learned today, hopefully you learned a lot. Hopefully you felt it was worth your time. So I'm just going to ask, if you felt like it was a good use of your time, if you would like to learn more about how to learn more about coding, how to continue what you started tonight, which is learning about coding, if it's okay if we talk to you a little bit about some of the courses that we offer here at Code Institute through our partners, Learning People. So if you're happy for us to do that, just go ahead and type yes into the chat box and we'll tell you a little bit about ourselves and what we do. So hopefully that's okay with everyone. So I'm seeing some sures, seeing some thanks. Okay, yes, we've gotten lots of yeses there and a couple of questions that I'm probably missing out on. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to hand you over to our colleague, Ben, who is actually a senior learning consultant in Learning People, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about the course that we have on offer. So you're going to hear maybe about 5 seconds of a loss of audio, and then Ben will have taken over from there. So Ben, I'm just going to turn off our share screen and you can turn yours on. So just bear with us. There'll be about 5 seconds of silence. Okay, Ben, I think you're up and running. Do you want to just say a few quick words and we'll make sure we can hear you?
Yes, hi everyone. It's Ben at the Learning People here. How's it going?
Brilliant. I think you're up and running. So yeah, off you go.
Okay, so thanks for that interesting presentation there. It's really, really interesting, guys. Now, I've been a coding specialist at the Learning People for about 5 years now. It's basically my job to just kind of talk people through their options, see what they might be interested in, go from there for the most part. And this particular presentation, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Learning People and about the program itself, and just go from there and answer some questions. So moving on. So first off, who are the Learning People? So the Learning People, we do many things and we like to keep it nice and simple because it can get a little complicated. But in a nutshell, we basically just help people all around the world, thousands of people every year, to simply gain the necessary skills and qualifications to move forward with careers in IT. And as I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware, the IT industry is a very broad subject, and it's for this reason that each of us here specialise in a particular area of IT. In my case, I specialise in coding, as mentioned, so I help people to move forward with careers in things like web development, app development, games development, just about anything that involves learning to code, basically. Now, the full stack web development program that is provided jointly by us and the Code Institute here is by far our most popular coding course. And there's a number of reasons that go into that, which I'll talk you guys through in just a sec. But one of the main reasons why we recommend full stack web development is because it's an area of the development industry that is incredibly highly in demand. And the main reasons behind that is because it puts you in a position where you have a broad range of skill sets that employers are looking for. And it basically refers to one individual who can do both front end and back end coding languages. And from an employer's perspective, that's a very attractive candidate because they can potentially hire just one person to do what otherwise they may have needed to hire, maybe 2 or 3 people to do. So companies are saving money, people are in demand, and it's just good for everyone, basically. So when we decided, when the Code Institute decided they wanted to put this particular program together, they did so with the help of their Industry Advisory Council. And this was something that was really, really important because we needed to understand what it is that employers actually look for. And the Industry Advisory Council basically provided that. So we wanted to make sure that there's no uncertainty around what our students are learning and whether or not it's leading to a job, because that's what most people are looking for. We wanted that to be very, very clear. So the Industry Advisory Council is a number of companies that we work closely with to make sure, like I say, that what you're learning is leading you to that first job that you're looking for. Which leads me to what is it that employers actually do look for. So we've gathered a lot of information around this over the years, which is one of the reasons why we're so excited to partner up with the Code Institute with this, because as a general rule, it pretty much always boils down to 3 very specific things. The first is, I'm just going to go through it now, actually. The first is always the skills, obviously the skills that employers are looking for they need to be cutting edge, basically. So one of the issues with the development world at the moment, if you will, is that graduates don't necessarily always have exactly the skill sets that employers are looking for. And we wanted to make sure that what we're bringing to the market, again, is teaching those cutting edge skill sets. So one of the first things employers are always looking for is very simply that you have the cutting edge and relevant skill sets that they want you to have. And the program has been updated with the ability to update it very, very regularly to simply be more in line with what employers are looking for. Now, the next part, if you don't have a history in this field, then having a certification is a great way to gain the attention of employers, to get their attention and to obviously get to interview stage. And I'd like to be quite clear around this. Having a qualification doesn't necessarily guarantee a job, but it is a great way to simply get interviews. And in this instance, we're very happy that we're able to provide this qualification through the Code Institute. It's a professional diploma in software development, which is certified by the Edinburgh Napier University. One of my favourite parts about this particular certification is that there is no exams to sit. The certification is awarded on your ability to actually build websites. And I think that's one of the things that would resonate with employers, is that you haven't gained a qualification on your ability to answer questions in an exam. It's based on your ability to actually do a job. And again, I think that's one of the things that employers really, really like to see. Now, the third and final thing that most employers look for, and by far, in my opinion, the most important aspect, is your portfolio. This is a collection of things that you've built yourself, and ultimately it's your ability to show up to an interview and to say, look, here's what I can do. And this is one of the most important aspects because it's clear proof of what you can do, and an employer gets a good sense of whether or not you can actually do the job, basically. So for this reason, the entire program is project-led, meaning that every step along the way, everything that you're learning, you're always contributing towards a particular project, so that by the end of the program, you have 3 major projects that you've built. All of this feeds into your portfolio. And at interview stage, for instance, if an employer was to say to you, oh, your websites look good, how did you do this, or how did you get it look like that, or whatever it might be, these are things that you would have built with your own 2 hands, and you'll be happy to explain it. In fact, students are very proud of what they create as part of the program, so it's kind of something you want to show off. And this is one of the things that employers like to see, is somebody who's enthusiastic, can actually do the job, hold a conversation around it, and is happy to kind of present it to them. So Those are the main parts that employers tend to look for. And I know that most people, when they're looking into these sorts of things and they're wondering whether or not it's something they might want to do, they tend to have three big questions, which I'm sure you're all waiting for. It's obviously, I've got it here. How does it all work? How long does it take? And of course, the big one for most people, how much does it cost? So just to go through those with you. Skip to the screen there. So in regards to how it all works, I think you've probably all figured out by now that it's all online training. So it's extremely convenient. It's very, very flexible. It really is completely down to you when and for how long you actually study, and ultimately how long it takes to complete. But we get a lot of great feedback about the program and how it's laid out. You get a very clear path to follow, and we basically take care of everything that you're going to need around that, and you just have to kind of keep working forward. Another point of great feedback that we get all the time is regarding the level of support that you receive. So you get normal things like great student community, people that you can talk with and share your ideas with, interact with other students. But you do get a huge amount of support all the way through. One of the best aspects of this is that every student gets access to their own mentor, which is available to them only through video chat sessions that are scheduled by the student at times that are convenient for the student. And this individual is somebody who is an existing developer today. So they really understand what they're talking about. And this is, I personally think this has made a big difference, because it's not, like lecturers or professors who have potentially been tied up in education for so long that they don't necessarily have a lot of real world experience anymore. We wanted people who understand what it takes to do the job today. And those are the people that are passing that knowledge on to our students. We do have a great career service as well. So most of our students, they tend to go off in one of two directions once they have completed the program. I'd say the first half, they like to get into like fairly safe, like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 type jobs as junior web developers. We are very, very happy to help you with this. I'll go through in just a sec on how we do that. We like to be upfront and honest around these sorts of things, around the salary expectations, to make sure we're all on the same page. Most of the students start on salaries of around £25,000 to £30,000 as a junior web developer, which I personally think is a fantastic place to start in a new industry. It does go up significantly after that with each year of experience that you gain. Now, the other half of our students, they often like the idea of working contractual basis, like freelance. And this is, I think this is an attractive prospect for a lot of people, because you get the opportunity to have a very flexible work-life balance. You can basically be your own boss, work your own hours, because once you pick up a contract to build a company's website for them, in most cases, they don't really care too much the hours that you work, so long as you deliver on that project in the time frame that you said you would. You can make some pretty crazy money doing that as well. But one of our consultants would be happy to talk you through those sorts of things as well, if you become interested in it and how it might look and work for you. Now, in regards to the career service that we provide, we have what's called our Seed Detox team. This is an excellent service that we provide to every single one of our students. These guys are, they go through quite a lot of details with you. So they'll go through your CV with you, covering letters, recruitment agencies, job boards. They'll go through your LinkedIn account as well. Actually, this is really important. Your LinkedIn account is a great way to get employers' attention if they're not necessarily looking at the recruitment agencies or the job boards. LinkedIn is important. They'll go through this with you to make sure that your LinkedIn account is very, very clear and really puts you forward to employers in regards to exactly what you're looking for, the kind of skill sets you have, the kind of jobs you want. And a lot of our students get their first opportunities off the back of just having a good LinkedIn account. So we go through that stuff with you quite thoroughly. And there's mock interviews as well, if you're interested. We always like to give people an idea of what to expect from interviews. Although I will say in this field, the interviews are quite nice. The skills and qualification that you gain get you to interview stage. At interview stage, generally boils down to two things, which is, does the employer like you? And secondly, do they like your portfolio? And assuming they like both things, you'll be seriously considered for that job. And it tends to be quite clean cut like that. Now, in regards to the cost of the program, I shall skip it again. So in regards to the how long it takes, actually, the program itself is typically completed in about 6 months on the basis that you manage around 20 hours a week. But again, that really is completely down to the individual student. We've had people complete the program in as little as 3 or 4 months before. Sometimes it takes longer, but it really is down to you. It's ultimately done when it's done. You actually get 12 months to complete the program. So you get loads and loads of time just to make sure that no matter what happens, you've got plenty of time to simply get everything done. Now, finally, in regards to how much it costs, I'm sure you guys, you may have seen the slides there anyways, but we do like to qualify this a little bit because you guys, we're going to send you over some information to give you a chance to do as much research as you want around all of these sorts of things. And in your research, if you're seriously looking at it, you're probably going to find that there are literally hundreds of places out there that will be delighted to sell you a course in coding. I think it's unfortunately the reality that not all of them are especially good. And again, you can do your own research around those sorts of things. But in our case, we're very specifically recommending full stack web development for lots of different reasons. The main ones being that it's clearly one of the best areas of development to train into. And we think if you're training into this field for the first time, you may as well choose full stack web development, something that's very highly in demand. But there isn't a huge amount of places out there where you can learn full stack web development. Actually, I do typically like to mention two of our biggest competitors who they do offer very good programs. And again, you should absolutely check them out. Again, we're perfectly open and honest about these sorts of things. One of them is called General Assembly. The other is called Block. They're both very, very good at what they do. My only gripes with them is that neither of them offer qualifications and both charge around £8,000. And whilst I think anybody can do their own research on why these sorts of things are good investments, I personally think that's a bit too pricey for what it is, and the lack of a qualification would be a little bit of a deal breaker for me. Now, in our case, you'll be pleased to know we don't charge anywhere near these amounts. Typically about half the price. It's normally priced at $4,495. Is the slide now. So it's normally $4,495, as in £4,495. Right now, there's a £500 discount running with this particular webinar, so it's actually $3,995. And we're extremely happy with this price point for a few main reasons. I think first off, for a lot of reasons, we consider it to be as close to a guarantee as somebody is likely to get for these sorts of things, because you're gaining skill sets that employers have helped us to decide that we're going to teach these skill sets. You're gaining a qualification that is equivalent to an HND level 5 or foundation degree, and it is certified by a recognized university. And you're gaining the portfolio that you need as well. Not to mention, our career service never ends until our students get that first job that they're looking to get. So for lots of reasons, we're really, really happy with this price point. But we do completely understand that not everybody has that kind of money kind of knocking around, just dying to spend it. And for that reason, we offer a wide variety of different payment options. There are literally hundreds of potential combinations of different payment options that we provide. If you are interested, I'd strongly advise you to talk with either myself tomorrow or one of our other coding consultants about this, because it's very rarely the case that somebody who wants to do this can't do it because there aren't affordable solutions. And I think in most cases, it generally boils down to two questions, which is how much of a deposit can you manage and how much can you afford monthly? And with the answers to those two questions, we can usually find affordable solutions. So questions, I think back over to Owen there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ben. So what I've popped up on there is if you would like to find out more, if you would like to chat to someone like Ben who can talk you through maybe your options when it comes to finance, maybe give you some finer detail about the course, if you click on the request a free strategy call, free consultation call link there, you'll be able to sign up and actually schedule a call with someone in Learning People in the coming days. So on to the questions. So this one is for you, I think, Yoni. It's from Jane. It says, how long would it take to become a full stack developer? Would it be longer than 6 months?
So that's a really hard question. It's not about the amount of time that elapses between when you start and when you end your learning. Becoming a full stack developer is something that you need to really decide that you want to do, and you need to put a lot of effort in. And the question here, I suppose, is about how long it will take you to get your first junior role. And I can definitely say that you can land a role after 12 weeks of really hard studying. Okay, and that would just depend on how much time you have. So if you were to completely devote all of your free time to this, or like if you're not working, then 12 weeks is possibly enough. Well, it is enough. And if you're doing this together with a full-time job, then I would say that you'd need around half a year or a year, depending on how much time you can spend on this.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So in CoderStudent, we have classroom programs which are full time. The online program which we're offering here through Learning People, there's different tracks you can actually take. So you can take up to a year to actually complete the course. So it really depends on your schedule, your sort of lifestyle, how much time you can afford to sort of sink into the study. So that's that one. Adam has asked, is it all web-based learning? I think that's for you as well, Yoni.
Yeah, so all of our content is available for the web for our learning management system. So you can access that at your own free time. There's lots of textual content, exercises, quizzes, and videos. And that's what you do at your own time. And then we also have the mentoring feature, which where you get 20 hours of assistance from a very experienced mentor. And that's also something that you do over the web using software like Skype. And I suppose that's it. Yeah, it's definitely possible to learn this over the web, and it's a good idea. Yeah, so all of the resources are here.
Okay, great. So Alan has just said he needs to pop off, but he's interested if you can get in touch with him. If anyone can't stay around for this portion but would like to hop on a consultation call, just click on that button there and you'll be able to sign up. So I'm going to go into some of the other questions here. There's a lot of them, which is great. Please keep them coming. So there's a question. Paul has asked, what do you need to be a full stack developer?
Okay, so the stack, as we call it, is usually three main parts. So it's usually the front end. So that's what we did in this session. It's the back end, which is controlling a server that will do all of the operations that are common to all of the users of your application. And that requires learning a language such as Python. And the other part is the database, which is usually considered to be the third tier of web development. And that requires you knowing how to use SQL or similar languages. And by knowing all these three parts, then you can consider yourself a full stack developer. And essentially, by knowing those things, you can create a big web application all by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're looking to learn all those things, the diploma in software development offered here is actually one of the fastest ways to actually learn all those topics in a way that's, specifically geared up to getting you into industry. So I have so many questions. I might just go from the top here. So AWOL has asked, can I do this course while doing a uni course? I'll actually field that one. Well, it is possible to do the course, although it may be quite a strain to do a course like this on top of a university course. It really depends on your schedule. It's certainly possible. It just depends on your schedule. Andrew has asked, is Codecademy a good place to start for learning basics? Andrew, Codecademy is an excellent place to learn the very basics of coding. If you're interested in learning it to a point where you can actually use it in a professional capacity and build a career out of it, that's where something like Code Institute would really come in.
I want to say that I don't know of a single person who started and did only Codecademy and then landed the job in development.
Okay, wow. So Mohammed has asked, what is the demand for coders and is it a competitive profession? I think we had a graph earlier. The demand for coders, there's basically a global skills shortage at the moment, Mohammed, and the demand for coders is absolutely huge. In Europe, by 2020, there's going to be 750,000 unfilled computing jobs. So there's a huge demand for coders. Is it a competitive profession? I would say it is, in terms of you always have to keep your skills up as high as they can.
Yes.
It can be.
Yeah, it requires a lot of studying continuously. So the technologies always change and there's always new versions of everything, new frameworks and such. It's not competitive in the sense that people are not really competing for one another. There's just so many roles available. There's some competition for specific companies. So if you want to work for a place like Google, I'd say, then it's harder to get into. So you're facing more competition. But generally, the world is your oyster.
Okay, great. And Ben, there's a question here for you. Peter's asked, what are the means of payment? So I suppose he's looking just for more detail on the payment options.
There really are so many payment options. It's really more of a discussion. We have interest-free payment options, interest and charge-free completely, where we split the cost up over quite a few months. It really just depends on what works best for the individual. I'd recommend book yourself in for a call, and either myself or another member of the team will give you a call tomorrow to talk you through those options and see if we can find an affordable solution for you.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Ben. So continuing to go from the top, maybe I should go from the bottom because that's where the oldest questions are now that I think about it, actually. So Jane has asked, how long does the course take and what is the cost? So I think we've covered cost. In terms of how long the course takes, it can take, if you wanted to do it full time, you could actually do it in about 12 weeks. That would be 40 hours a week, flat out. A more reasonable pace might be, if you did it over 36 weeks, that would be about 10 to 15 hours a week. And you'd be meeting up with your mentor who, part of doing this program is you're assigned a mentor. They work with you all the way through the program. Someone just like Yoni, actually. Mm-hmm. So you might meet with them once every 2 weeks, possibly every week if you wanted to. Paul has asked, how do you know when you are ready to apply for coding jobs? That's definitely one for you, Yoni.
So can you repeat that?
Yeah. How do you know when you are ready to apply for coding jobs?
Okay. So you can apply to coding jobs when you've done something similar already. And that's what we do here in this course. So we have you create a portfolio of professional websites as part of the course. So then when you apply to a job in web development, you know that you'll be doing something very similar to what you've already done, and you will be showing the recruiter your portfolio, and they would say, oh, this is professional. This is what we're looking for. So once you feel that you're ready to create websites, then that's the time.
Okay, yeah. Great. Murtaza has asked, is there any C++ or C#?
So no, not in our course.
No.
C++ and C# are nice languages, nice object-oriented languages, very big following, but they're not as relevant to web development. Instead, we in our course focus on Python, which is a language which is really easy to get started with and is very effective and is very sought after in the industry.
Super in demand, super in demand, and growing in demand as well, which is great. Rishti has asked, have you got classroom courses? So Rishti, we do, currently the only place to do a classroom course on the Code Institute Diploma in Software Development is here in Dublin. The main focus on this webinar is the mentored online option available through Learning People. So there's no option to do the classroom version of the course in the UK for now. SN has asked, is there a doc with all these EM and SRC with their definition available? So, Yoni, do you want to find a link online and actually put that in the chat? Just a document with all the various HTML types. I'd say W3 schools.
Yeah, so there's two good ones. Yeah.
Just pop that in. Yeah. Richie has asked, do you think with what we learned, we can create a website? Richie, you can do much, much more than just create a website after doing this program. It's really about starting a career in web development, creating web applications, creating things. There's so many great examples of web applications. I tell you what, I won't go through them, but absolutely you could create websites and much, much more than that. Julie has asked, what coding languages are most in high demand for employers? So Ben actually touched on this a little bit earlier about the Industry Advisory Council. So the Industry Advisory Council is firms like Morgan McKinley, it's Accenture, it's PayPal. We go to them and we ask them, what jobs can't you hire for? What skills are you looking for that you can't seem to find the people for? And depending on what they say, we adjust the course syllabus. So everything in our syllabus is actually, as best as we can track it through our Industry Advisory Council, the coding languages that are most in demand for employers. Alina has asked, what about internet payments processing systems and 3D secure payments? Do you have any courses about this? You know what? I'm not really sure on that one. Ben, what do you think of that one?
Sorry, can you repeat that one?
It's do you have any courses on internet payments processing or 3D secure payments? I'm not terribly sure.
I can probably check, but not off the top of my head. No, I don't think we do.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to mention we teach how to use PayPal and Stripe integrations. So you can use PayPal and Stripe to take payments when you're creating a website. So that's something to go through. But we don't really focus on the payment processing.
Yeah, perhaps if you're looking to be an expert in those particular things, this wouldn't be the course for you. But if you want to learn how to use them, in that you could deploy them in a web application and actually charge people money for using the creations you make on the course, that is definitely something you can do here. Nicole has said, thanks very much for giving up your time. You are very welcome. It was very informative. Coming from a complete noob's perspective, how would you recommend going about taking the first step as a career in coding? I mean, Yoni, I don't know what you think about it. I mean, certainly this was the first step. If you're brand new to it, see what it's like, see if you enjoy it. That's really one of the big things. And beyond that, it depends on how far you want to go. If it was me, I would probably be looking for one of the fastest ways to get into it. Once I was sure I was happy to go down that road, and certainly this type of learning can be very, very fast. But Yoni, you're a coder. You've been doing this for a long time. What would you say?
Yeah, well, so there's different ways about it. You've already seen the very basics in this workshop. So with what you learned here, you can go ahead and try to create a basic website and just search online for any question you have. There's tons of free resources out there. There's a site called Stack Overflow, which has a huge repository of questions and answers. And you can learn piecemeal like that and create some small stuff. You can also go through some free resources such as Codecademy, and that will get you to the point where you can create a basic or even kind of medium-sized website for yourself or for your friends. But if you really want to make this your profession, then we'd recommend taking a longer course such as the one we're offering, which really covers all of the bases and will make you ready to get hired as a junior developer.
Okay, great. Ben, I'd like to throw this one out to you, but maybe Yoni, you could do it as well. Ben, the question is age a factor? Please be realistic and honest. I'm 50 plus.
Honestly, no. In coding, I haven't found that there's any real age restrictions. I've been doing this for a long time. We've had students well into their 50s and even some in their early 60s who just wanted to do something new. So we haven't seen any correlation with employers who are making decisions based on age, race, gender, sexuality, or otherwise. As long as you show up with the ability to do the job, then you'll be considered for that job.
I want to say that I have seen cases where there is a bit of age discrimination. So there's a few companies I've heard of which would kind of say that someone older doesn't have the culture fit for the company. There are cases, and you can read about them, but these are really the minority. So the vast majority of companies will not care. They will just be interested in what you can add, like what value you can add to them. That's the main thing.
Okay, great. Hopefully that's an answer that's fair. What I recommend is if you're in a very specific situation like that and you kind of want to sort of talk through, someone like Ben has spoken to quite possibly thousands of people at this point about their career choices, the direction they want to go. So it can be a really great way to get a barometer on maybe the next step to take. So it's a really good call. I would really recommend, if you're in one of those situations, to sign up for that consultation call. It's very, very worthwhile. So there's been a question: to complete this course in 6 months, how many hours daily will be required? What I would say there is it would be about 10 to 15. Oh, sorry, daily. It'd be about 10 to 15 hours a week. How many hours you want to do per day is up to you. I usually say you could do half a day on a Saturday and maybe a couple hours each evening, and that would kind of get you to the 10 to 15 hour limit. It's really up to you how you want to split that out. John has asked, is there any student testimonials who have completed the course and have jobs, especially freelance work? So there's definitely student testimonials about who have completed the course and have jobs. With freelance work, it can be quite a common thing after the course to start doing freelance sort of for friends and family, build up your portfolio. As for someone who's started a successful freelance business, I don't know. We usually track employment. We don't get asked about freelancing too much, to be honest with you. But John, there's absolutely student testimonials that we can send out to you. And it would just be a matter of finding them. So tell you what, maybe we'll follow up by email. But John, if you sign up for one of those consultation calls, they can definitely set you up with some student testimonials. Let's see. Anna has asked, do you have courses in game app development? I suppose, Ben, that's possibly one for you, is it?
That's a long question to answer. Yes, we do have access to various courses. Of course, the purpose of this particular webinar is for this one. Again, I feel like we're using this answer for everything, but if you want to schedule a call, I'd be happy to talk you through the options tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a good idea. So Muna has asked, would you say computer science is still a very male dominated career path? Yoni, you were actually talking in chat about this earlier.
So I'm sorry to say that it still is. There's no reason for it to be. It actually was a lot better in the 80s. There were many more women in the field. And for some cultural reason, there's fewer women going into the computing field starting on the 90s and early 2000s, and it's getting better now. So it's been widely recognized as a big problem, that this lack of diversity, and it's getting better. And I just want to say that from my experience in the field, in the industry, there's absolutely no difference, and you wouldn't see any problem for women getting jobs. So it's just that there's not enough women looking for those roles. There's not enough women going into computer science studies. And for that reason, there's not enough women in the industry currently. So it's just a culture thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I really hope this will get better.
Yeah, and it will change, and it's up to sort of everyone to try and make that ratio a little bit more fair.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions on hours. So SN has asked, I'm a full-time first-year uni student. Do you think I could take a part-time coding job after completing your course or not? SN, I'm not really sure. Perhaps freelancing you could do well. I'm not sure how many part-time jobs there are available for junior developers. Yoni, would it be a sort of yes or no? I don't think there's too many.
There are jobs. There are not too many, but especially for smaller startups, then yeah. So
absolutely. Actually, yeah, you're dead right. Yeah, for smaller startups, they would absolutely be looking for someone to come in part-time, help them with their coding, and it'd be a great place to actually get some experience. So Paul has asked, to successfully complete this course in a year, how many hours a week do you recommend? If you had the year, Paul, I would recommend the sort of minimum is 10 hours a week. You wouldn't really want too much less than that, which leads me on to Richie's question. Richie is saying, I'm working full-time, so could be doing as little as 5 to 7 hours a week on the course, going to make it hard to get through. Certainly, Richie, to do it in enough time, I think 5 to 7 hours a week would be a little low. I think it might take you a year and 3 or 4 months to do it in that time. But it's certainly possible. I would possibly a consultation call is a good one on that, because sometimes it can help to have someone maybe understand your specific situation and see if there's any other places you could grab some hours from. Hugh has asked, I'm a graphic designer setting up my own business and looking to add web coding at full stack development as a service during 20 hours a week. How long would this take? And can the payments be over a year event if I finish the course earlier? I'm confused. I'm gonna cut this into 2 questions. So if you did 20 hours a week, Hugh, it would take you 24 weeks. And Ben, that's a question for you. Can the payments be over a year, even if Hugh finishes the course earlier? So can he pay over 12 months, but complete the course in 6 months?
Yes, of course. So the payment terms that we offer have no relation to the term in which you need to complete the training. They're completely separate. And yes, we can split the cost up over 12 payments. Again, schedule yourself in for a call. We'll talk you through the options and see which work best for you. But we're really, really flexible with these sorts of things. It's all completely interest and charge free. And it's actually quite good in the sense that if you decide you want to pay it off sooner, then you absolutely can do. If you want to leave it running, then you can do. But again, it's interest free. So we kind of give a lot of the flexibility and the management of that over to the students.
Okay, great. So there's many more questions here. So we have one here. Do you have exams at the end? So good question. We don't have exams. What we do have is we have project assessment. Now, the reason we went for that is employers in general aren't interested in if you're able to complete an exam successfully. What they really want to see is practical proof that you can actually go out and build a website, build a web application, or whatever it is. So the important thing that you don't have exams, but you do have assessment at the end, and we go through your projects, and you can gain a pass, a merit, or a distinction in those project assessments. So no exams, but yes, a project assessment. Garen has asked, the course teaches Python, but in my area, companies seem to want PHP knowledge. Why Python? Yoni?
PHP is also a good language. So yeah, PHP and Python fit in pretty much the same niche. Python, in my experience, and in generally, it's considered to be a nicer looking language. So it's more elegant. It's easier to read generally, and it's, I'd say, easier to create medium-sized projects in, while PHP might be a bit easier to get started, but then it becomes harder. So both are good. Another thing I can just say about is that in recent surveys that we see that Python is growing more quickly and it's more loved in the industry. And that's the programming language we like best for backend development.
I'm seeing similar data on that as well.
Okay. So I have something here from Ross. Ross says, sorry to ask, but when is this finishing? Got to go soon. So Ross, what I would say is that we're kind of in the questions and answers phase. So you can go whenever you like, whenever you need to. If you would like to hear from us, if you'd like to schedule a call with a Learning People consultant, I'd recommend you click on that consultation call button below and sign up. But if you need to go, I guess you got to go. So let's go down to the bottom and start getting through some of these. So MLE has asked, how much does it take for me to learn coding for my professional e-trade website? So I'm not sure. I suppose it depends on what you want to do, what your website actually does, Emily. So again, I'd recommend signing up for a consultation call for these kind of specific kind of questions. Here's one for you, Yoni. So will I be able to get opportunities with big firms without knowledge of data structures and algorithms?
The short answer is no. So if you're looking to get a role as a software developer, and that's the thing, if you want to be a software developer for a large company such as Google or Amazon or Facebook, you will not be able to get in without additional knowledge in algorithm data structures. And that's something we don't focus on. So we focus on the practical skills that you need to create a website. We teach a bit about algorithms, but because it's not as central to web development, then we don't focus on it. And if you want, that's something you can later learn yourself through books or through academic courses. The other part of the answer is that you can definitely get a job in one of those companies in some other role, as a business analyst, as a marketing person, or many other roles which require coding skills these days. And you would benefit a lot from knowing how to code and be able to create those things we teach. And later, if you wanted to pivot into a role in software developer, then that might be easier for you.
Okay, great. So Rosalind has asked, how do you book on the course and other courses? Which is a great question. Rosalind, what I would say is sign up for that consultation call, and Ben or one of the learning consultants can talk you through that and maybe understand what you're trying to do there. Tumiwa has asked, is it tailor-made? Do you have programs for mid-advanced coders? Again, Tumiwa, what I would say is sign up for consultation call. They can talk you through, maybe see if this is the specific course that would be really useful to you. If not, they can refer you to someone else within Learning People who will help you with that. Zahra has asked, do you also give other specializations like IT security? I would definitely recommend signing up for a consultation call. Again, they can direct you to the appropriate person within Learning People. I guess we're kind of saying that for all of them, aren't we, Ben?
Yeah, we are. I mean, it's true. We offer such a wide variety of different courses. This webinar is obviously for the full stack web development program. But if you want to book yourself in for a call, I can direct you to the relevant parties depending on what you're interested in.
Absolutely. Hiba has asked, are there any iOS specific training courses? So there's no iOS covered in this, but I guess the same answer as the last one. Joshua has asked, I did not go into higher computing science during school. Can I still make it in the programming field? So Yoni, this is absolutely a question for you. What's your degree in again?
So I started studying computer science in university, and after a year I switched to biology and cognitive science, and that didn't harm my prospects at all. What I want to say about computer science is that computer science is the theoretical field of solving abstract problems. So it's almost a sub-branch of mathematics. If you go into studying computer science, you will learn to prove mathematical theorems about how efficient different algorithms and data structures are. And you will be learning lots of abstract stuff, which is interesting. And it's definitely helpful for some kinds of roles, especially for larger companies which are looking to create the most efficient possible version of some algorithm. But it's not really relevant for the vast majority of coding jobs, where the most important thing is understanding a practical problem quickly and quickly creating a good enough solution, because the demands may change really quickly. So creating the most perfect solution is just not relevant. It's best to just create what you need and get it out to market as quickly as possible. And that's what we focus on. So this bootcamp, this course focuses on giving you the practical skills you need to create websites. And we give you the basic knowledge of computer science. But if that's something you're interested in, then you'll probably want to augment this with academic learning.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Yoni. So Annette has asked, if you can't start right away, I'm mid another course. How often do you run these courses? Can you start at any time? So Annette, you can
I suppose it sort of depends. You can start at any time because of the structure of the course, but it may be that you get your login details on a specific day of the month. Umar has asked, what other code languages do you teach? So there's probably too many to mention, but I'll quickly rattle off a few. On the front end, there's HTML, there's CSS, there's JavaScript, there's a number of frameworks within the JavaScript from there. On the back end, it's Python, it's Django, it's frameworks like Flask, and there's a number of data things in there. There's D3, well, that's more JavaScript, D3.js, there's MySQL,
SQL, yeah.
SQL. There's all kinds of things in there. Possibly too much to say, but if you'd like more detail on that, signing up for a consultation call is a great way to go. Ashton has asked, will the course help me build mobile apps? So Ashton, we get this question a lot. Not directly. You will be able to create web applications, which can then be imported using different tools into either the Google App Store, Google Play Store, or the what's the iOS version of that?
I think Apple App Store.
App Store. So it is possible to build apps for mobile, but you will be focused on web application development. So it'll be sort of a workaround that you'll be using, but it is possible. But we're focused on mobile apps that you can load up on your phone, but they work in your browser. Hopefully that's clear. It may be a little confusing. Murtaz has asked, is there any NoSQL for cloud and big data implementation?
So the question is a bit confusing, but we do teach a NoSQL database in our course. So we teach how to use Mongo, which is probably the most popular NoSQL database. And concerning big data, well, that's mostly outside the scope of our course.
Okay, great. Let's see. For backend, what other languages are available? There's a huge amount of backend languages. Yeah. There's PHP. There's
Ruby.
There's
C# and Java, which are sometimes used for backend development.
Yeah, there's C++ as well.
C++ sometimes.
F#, right?
Yeah.
There's hundreds. Well, maybe not hundreds, but definitely tens.
But we focus on Python, which is usually the most loved.
Absolutely. So Abdul has asked, can you explain the major difference in approach between JavaScript and Ajax? Which one to use? Which one is better? This may be slightly advanced. Yoni, do you want to give like a quick 10, 15 second answer on that?
Yeah. It's actually a kind of wrong question in the sense that Ajax is JavaScript. So Ajax stands for asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Ajax is a way of transferring data between the front end and the back end using JavaScript without having to load a new page from the server. That's something we definitely teach and it's done as part of our regular JavaScript content.
Okay, great. Christopher has asked, what was the diploma called again? So the full name of this course, Christopher, is the Code Institute Diploma in Software Development. Abdul has asked, can you explain the major... Oh, no, sorry, I've already answered that question. Laura has asked, do you teach how to use GitHub? Laura, that's actually one of the first things you'll learn in stream 1 of the course, how to use GitHub, how to upload to it, everything you'll possibly need to know. Abdul really wanted to know about the difference between JavaScript and Ajax. I keep coming across it here.
So I hope we answered that.
Yeah, hopefully we did, yeah. So Callum has asked, is it possible to learn advanced coding with sources already on the internet? Of course, time not being an issue. Callum, I think to be totally fair, it is completely possible. If time is not an issue, and if you have an unlimited well of motivation and you don't need any support whatsoever and will never have a question that's more complex than can be answered by Google, then absolutely, pretty much you can learn anything. Yeah. If you have unlimited time, unlimited patience, unlimited motivation, absolutely. If you're short on any of those three, I would suggest getting some sort of help, either via this course or another.
Absolutely.
Komal has asked, I heard that C# is the most common language in demand. Is that right?
No. Well,
No?
From surveys I've been following, so no, that's not quite right. Ben, do you have statistics on that?
Not to hand, no, but I don't even get that many inquiries about C# anymore. It's actually mostly full stack now.
Yeah. C# is a language owned by Microsoft, which, from my experience, is actually been declining a bit. In the recent year or so, they've released it to work on new platforms, so we might see a bit of a revival, but no, it doesn't seem to be growing rapidly, no.
Okay. So Ben, there's a question here for you from Barbara. Barbara has asked, why is this course so expensive? The cost is equivalent to a year's course at university.
Well, I suppose it depends on your definition of expensive. I think if you were to take just a little bit of time to see the kind of jobs out there and the kind of careers you're going to have and what average salaries and things like that, which I'd be happy to talk you through if you want to call me tomorrow. But we personally don't think it's that expensive. Some of our closest competitors charge double the price that we do. And we think, as I mentioned earlier, we think it's as close to a guarantee as you're likely to get to pursue a career in this field. And if you're going to compare it to a year of a degree, it's not really a fair comparison, but we like to think that you're getting everything you need to pursue a career in this field off the back of this one course and qualification, everything you need to get started, whereas a year at university doesn't necessarily provide that. And the skill sets that you're gaining are considered to be cutting edge. Whereas I think, again, as I mentioned earlier, one of the issues with universities is that they just can't keep up with the demand. In fact, I'd say to this day, we continue to get hundreds of inquiries from people every year who often already have degrees in computer science and software engineering and aren't necessarily working in the exact kind of fields that they want to be in. And they found that this course was the answer for them. So we're very happy with the price point.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And actually, if you follow that question through, the course is the equivalent to a year's course at university. That's true, but universities courses are over 3 or maybe 4 years. So I suppose really you're saying it's a quarter of the price, but it gets you started on that career faster. Not to knock university, I think it's a fantastic way to learn, to sort of grow as a person. This course is just more focused on if you don't really need that sort of growth experience to be on a university campus for 4 years. If you just want to learn the skills to start a new career in a fast growing industry, then this is the course for you. That's all. I think university is great. This course is great. It just depends on kind of the experience you want to have. So Tumiwa has asked, is it tailor-made? Do you have programs for mid-advanced coder? Again, I suppose that depends on your definition of mid or advanced coder. I'd probably suggest signing up for one of those consultation calls.
I just want to add that.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so we have many students who have previous experience coding. The majority definitely don't have that, but we have many who do and are looking to switch into web development, and they benefit a lot from the course. So that's the feedback I'm getting. They're using this course to get a rapid start in this field of web development, learn the specific languages and platforms and frameworks needed here. And that's it. That's a good fit for those cases.
Okay, great. Ashton has said, what would you say are currently the 5 most valuable coding languages? I think I suppose it depends on what you mean by valuable. You could mean by what's most in demand, what's being most used by the industry.
Yeah, what's most loved.
There's a number of different trackers out there. It's hard to say in terms of most valuable. Really, there's lots of different tools available for different jobs. If you want to find a resource online.
Yeah, so there's
put in the
a recent survey by Stack Overflow.
Yeah, go ahead and pop that in the link.
Yeah.
Right? So Ross has asked, also, will you be doing any webinars in the upcoming future? Yes, I think so. Murtaza has not really asked, it's more said, it's a good offer and you still get a diploma at the end and certified by a university. That's correct. And then the final question from Azeb is graduate plus this course E, which I really don't know what that question is asking. But Azeb, if you'd like to ask it again, maybe with just more detail, we'll do our best to answer it. Garen has asked, do you cover AngularJS, Yoni?
Yes, we do. So AngularJS is the most popular framework for front-end development. So it's a way to structure your JavaScript code to create a website more quickly and more powerfully than you would get with manual JavaScript coding. And we teach that at the end of our Stream 1, at the end of front end.
Okay, great. There's a number of questions here. David has asked, if there are any further questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box. We're happy to stay as long as there are questions, though I am seeing that they are slowing down, which is fine. So David has asked, is there a big market for PHP framework like Laravel? I don't know.
There is. I'm not sure how it compares to frameworks as a Django. It is popular. Yeah.
Okay. Ross has then asked, what's PHP?
So PHP, originally personal homepage, is a language that's kind of a competitor for Python on the back end. And we don't teach that.
Yeah, I suppose that's the most important part, isn't it? So Murtaza has asked, can you get a job for network administration and IT security with my cybersecurity suite with learning people without a university degree? Murtaza, I think that question is so specific that I'm going to suggest either
either signing up for a consultation call or maybe calling someone and learning people that you know and maybe talking through that option.
I think if you do exactly that, Mataz, there's lots of different skills and qualifications in the cybersecurity collections that we offer. The most popular being with most people is the certified ethical hacker, but again, the purpose of this is the full stack program. So just leave an inquiry on our website or register for a call, and one of our guys will be happy to talk you through it.
Great. So while I was asked, is there a syllabus on your site? So Ben, would you have a copy of the syllabus that you'd be happy to send out to everyone, maybe in an email tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, brilliant. Well, so AWOL, yes, and maybe Ben can ask Jono to actually send that out in the email tomorrow. So what I'm seeing is I'm seeing we have gotten to the end of questions and answers. Well done, Yoni. Well done, Ben. We got there in the end. So I'm seeing one more come in. How old do you have to be to do the course? So I think the minimum age is 18, just for reasons of, I suppose, logistical ease. So I'm seeing Angie saying, thanks very much for the webinar. So what I think I'm seeing is if you are still around at this point, you're probably have some further questions about the course. You'd maybe like to learn a little bit more. What I'd suggest, if you're still here and you're still interested and you maybe just want to find out a little bit more information, I really suggest clicking on that consultation call button, registering for one of those calls, and actually chatting to someone, and just take it the next step further and see where it might go from there. So that's what I'm going to suggest. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to thank you very much, Ben, for taking time out of your evening. Yoni, you're used to hanging out with me and doing these webinars.
I enjoy doing this.
But I'll thank you anyway, because you are giving up your time. So, and all of you actually. So thank you very much for coming along, because if you weren't here, we'd just be three guys talking to each other, which wouldn't be much fun at all.
That would be some fun.
It would be it would be some fun, but not as much fun. So thank you all very much for coming along. We really appreciate it. I'm seeing a late question come in. On completion of the course, do you have placement? There's no placement options, unfortunately. But if you'd like to chat through maybe what the career, what the sector is like in the UK, maybe what help they give you, you can definitely do that. I'd suggest signing up for that consultation call. So listen, thank you very much, everyone. That is it from myself and Yoni.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
I think
everyone.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Thanks very much, everyone. And have a good evening.